Hello and welcome to today's Up to Thrive Manage Your Mind Mindful Moment.
Welcome to Up to Thrive, your go-to podcast for women's wellness in midlife, designed to educate, support, and inspire you to live your very best life. And now your host, Dr. Karina Sims.
So I have this favorite local artist. I have 2 of her paintings hanging in my home, and I would have more if I had more wall space. In fact, I dream of one day building my dream home and commissioning her to cover my walls in her work. Hopefully one day. See, she has this beautiful, loose, fun, vibrant style that just makes my heart sing. Her name is Jackie Mason, and she has a website if you want to check her out. So Jack is doing a solo exhibition right now as part of the SALA Festival, which stands for the South Australian Living Artists Festival. South Australia, by the way, is known as the festival state. We like our festivals. So SALA has been running for many years. In fact, a little Googling told me it has been running since 1998. And it basically turns the whole state into one big celebration of visual art for the entire month of August. One of the super fun things about it is that the art isn't just tucked away in galleries. You can find exhibits and art events everywhere, from coffee shops and restaurants to wineries and even some retail outlets. All kinds of community spaces. I have personally, over the years, participated in at least a couple of SALA exhibits myself, and I was even in a couple non-SALA exhibitions with Jackie. That is how I first came to know her and fall in love with her and her work. My style is very controlled and pretty concrete. I've always wanted to be one of those artists that could just let go and create these fun, loose paintings full of vibrant colors that work so beautifully together, but I've not quite mastered the art of letting go of control of my composition. But Jackie's the exact opposite. When you look at her paintings, you want to touch them because they're so full of texture and color. They're so captivating. You can picture her music blaring, paint-covered overalls on, the sun shining. She's got paint in her hair and upper arms, and she's just letting it flow, letting the art flow out of her. So when I heard that Jackie was putting on a paint and sip event as part of this year's SALA Festival at the local hotel, I was really excited. If you haven't heard of a paint and sip event, it's where an artist gives you instruction while you sip wine and paint. Very fun. But then I went and I had a look at Jack's newest work, and I could see this style she's playing with at the moment was a lot more what I would call rigid and controlled for her. The subject matter was also very different for her. It's about buildings and structures. Everything was a bit different than her usual style. Her colors are even a bit more what I would call cautious. And so I thought maybe I wouldn't enjoy this event as much as I thought I might. Even though her work is still beautiful and skillful, I caught myself thinking, I can already do cautious and controlled. That is what I'm best at. That's what comes natural to me. So I decided that maybe I'd just sit this one out. Then I had coffee with friends this morning, and a few of them were very excited about going along to the event tonight. And as I was driving home, I was thinking about it a bit more. Jackie is still Jackie, and her natural style is still her natural style, and being closed off and rigid in my thinking has never served me well before. I tend to pride myself on remaining open to learning and experiencing. If there's one thing I've learned in my 55 years, it's that I don't really know all the things that I think I already know. I am often surprised. There is always more to learn, a different perspective to consider, a deeper understanding to gain. And I think there's something really important about deliberately remaining a student of life. Because the moment we decide, I already know this, we stop looking. We stop being curious. We stop asking questions. We stop noticing the things that don't quite fit with what we already believe. And probably most importantly, we stop giving ourselves the opportunity to be surprised. That's the bit that struck me when I was driving home. I'd already decided what Jackie could teach me before I'd even walked into the room. I'd looked at the paintings, compared them with what I already knew about my own style, and thought, nope, nothing here for me. But what if I'm wrong? What if she uses a technique I've never considered? What if watching someone whose brain works completely different from mine unlocks something in my own work? What if I don't learn anything about painting at all, but I have a fabulous night with my friends? What if the thing I take away isn't even the thing I went there expecting to learn? And I think that's where curiosity becomes such an important part of continuing to grow, because this isn't really just about painting. Maybe we've exercised for years and we think we know how to exercise until someone teaches us something that completely changes the way we train. Like our midlife bodies need to be challenging our muscles with progressive overload. We need to progressively be challenging our muscles. Maybe we've spent decades thinking we understood nutrition, that we have an amazing diet. And then one piece of information, or two, changes our entire relationship with food. Maybe we've been married for 30 years and we assume we already know exactly what our partner's going to say, exactly what they're thinking. Maybe we've been doing the same job for 20 years and stopped asking the younger person in the room what they think because we've seen it all before. There can be a subtle danger that comes with experience. The more experienced we become, the easier it can be to interpret new information through that lens of what we already know, rather than allowing it to challenge us. Experience matters, knowledge matters, expertise matters. This isn't about throwing any of that away. It's about holding what we know with enough openness that something new can still get in. And then I realized something else. Maybe the biggest lesson was already the work Jackie is showing in this exhibit. Here is an accomplished artist whose work I absolutely adore. She has a recognizable style. She's incredibly good at it. People love it. She could simply just keep doing what she already knows works. But she isn't. Jackie hasn't stopped growing either. She's experimenting. She's playing with something different. She's exploring different subjects, different structures, different ways of using color. She's allowing herself to move away from what's comfortable and familiar. She's willing to be a student again. And maybe that's exactly why she's the artist she is. It made me realize that remaining a student doesn't mean discounting everything we've learned along the way. It means refusing to decide that we've finished learning. I think that's part of thriving as we get older. Not constantly reinventing ourselves, not throwing away everything we've learned, but staying curious enough to keep asking, what else is there? What haven't I considered? What could this person teach me? What if I'm wrong? What if there is another way? Maybe wisdom isn't reaching the point where we know all the answers. Maybe it's becoming increasingly aware of how much there still is to learn. So stay experienced, stay knowledgeable, trust the wisdom you've earned along the way. But I think we should always leave just a little room to be surprised. And now I am really excited to go along tonight and see what I can learn. I'll let you know how I go. I hope you've enjoyed this Manage Your Mind mindful moment. And if you have, and you can think of someone else who might enjoy it, please pass it on. And don't forget to rate and review the podcast to make it more visible to those who might get something out of it too. Have a great week, everyone. And until then, I hope you opt to thrive.
The Opt to Thrive podcast is designed for information purposes only and is not engaged in the giving of medical advice. The information provided on the podcast should not be used for diagnosing or treating a health problem or disease. In no way should the information provided by Opt to Thrive be considered medical advice, and at all times the advice of a medical professional should supersede recommendations from Opt to Thrive. If you have or suspect you may have a health problem, you should consult your healthcare provider. The views expressed in this podcast are purely that of Dr. Sims and do not in any way reflect those of the institutions she contracts her medical services to.
Thank you for listening to Opt to Thrive. If you've enjoyed listening, please rate and share the podcast. You can visit our website at opttothrive.com and leave a comment for any subjects you would like to hear more about.